So I think often in life we make things more complicated. Human beings make things more complicated and convoluted than they have to be. So I want to make this video about simplifying what we're seeing going on with the world and then drawing some comfort from the fact that there's a plan. And I want to start off with the plan part. And simply put, the battle between good and evil, what we consider the battle between dark forces and light forces, is all a matter of whether we believe there's a plan or we don't. The difference between somebody that is a faithful person, a devotional person, and believes in God, and someone who is, say, an atheist or a devil worshiper or somebody that goes against this idea, is that people who are devil worshippers or people who are against the idea of God believe that everything is random. And this includes many scientists and many people in the modern day system. They believe that there is no plan. And really the plan is a consciousness. They believe there's no overseeing consciousness, that things happen randomly and there isn't anything holding the universe and the world together. There was no intention, there was no design, there was no blueprint, and these types of things. Everything happens randomly. And so people who believe in God and have faith and believe in some sort of whatever, it could be a higher power, any of these types of things. It doesn't matter what you call it. It doesn't matter what religion you are. It's this idea that there is some benevolent consciousness, a higher level consciousness, and with that there is a plan. There is not, these things don't happen randomly. And for me, well, one thing to say about this is once you believe that there's a plan, then when you see that things are happening in a way that would be considered bad, would be considered undesirable, like what's happening in the world today, when you get sick or things go in a way that you go, how is this possibly fair? Or the kind of things that people say, when something like this happens, it makes me question whether there's a God or not, because why would a God let this happen? And when you have faith and you realize that there is a plan, and you feel a presence of a loving presence in your heart, you can feel that there's a consciousness, you see that things aren't random, then you have to give God the benefit of the doubt and say, you know what, I can't see everything that needs to be seen. I don't know how this thing that appears so bad in my life today could somehow in the future make me a better person. I don't know how something like this could, what I would consider evil, how they would make the world a better place. So there's a lot of evil going on in the world right now. But ultimately, what's going to be the end result of this evil that we see now? So this is a time where people can start hemorrhaging faith because good people are getting punished and what people in the Christian community would be called the wicked are rising. And so the wicked are being empowered and the good people are being disempowered, and the wicked already don't believe in God and a plan, or at least they're mocking it and take some sort of a negative attitude towards it, and are or consciously going against the plan, which is the trying to usurp God's position. Talked about this so much in my book, The Choice, the great usurpers. And so good people are saying, well, why are the wicked people, why are the bad people being empowered, and why am I suffering so much? What's up, God? What's going on? And so it becomes a situation where you have the people who are empowered already don't believe in a plan and don't believe in a consciousness. And the good people are hemorrhaging their faith and are starting to doubt the presence of God. And plus it's harder to feel God's love because it's so dense materially on planet Earth, dense hedonism. And so this is what you see going on. So what can you do as a human being what can you do as a spiritual person to see that there actually is a plan and see that things don't happen randomly and from your own life? Now, this is something that I specialize in because I've talked about this before, partly because I'm dyslexic and partly because this is how my mind works. I see patterns. And that's what I present here. My videos in most part are about pattern recognition. And within your own life, you can see patterns. You can see things that happen in a way that there's no way they can be random. And I just have a sense of this, but anybody can do this. You just can have a sense of, well, what are the odds that these two things could come together, or these 20 things could align themselves all at once to come together at a certain time in your life. Things that are totally not interrelated, like your work life and your personal life and some distant relative, and then some random event that happens politically. All of them they affect you in a negative way or a positive way. In the same way, like it's pulling out something inside of you, a good character quality or a bad character quality. I see this all the time because when I answer comments now, I just go to my comments section, and the comments are put in whatever chronological order, whatever time they came in. So it's not together with other videos. And I see patterns all the time. It might be something like 3 comments come in, for example, and they're in completely 3 different videos. Maybe a video from 7 years ago, of like one of the older videos, and then a video that happened, I just put out yesterday, and then a video from a year ago. And they're not related at all. And the 3 people that are commenting, their YouTube usernames would be something like Bob Rules, or Bob's a Horrible Person would be the second one, and the third one would be What About Bob? And I'd look at them, and the only person that could see these comments coming in, because they're completely different videos, is me, and I would get a chuckle out of that. And there might be something where I'm having a thought that's an incorrect thought or something like this, and I would have this thought while I'm doing the comments, and then someone would say, "You're an idiot." And immediately I would feel like I was getting a proper response from some random person that's discussing something entirely different in the video. So there are things like that that happen all the time where I chuckle, and there'll be some sort of patterns by the way these things come in. Another something that just happened recently is I went through a negative period. Some of it had to do with divorce stuff coming up with my ex, and some of it had to do with some other things. And during that time, I was taking a lot of criticism in comments on the YouTube channel and in a few other places, totally unrelated. And so I had to stand back and say, well, I could blame all these other external things that are going on, and the fact that I feel bad. I just felt bad inside, like I was restless and irritable. And it came to a head sometime last week. I forget which day it was. And so I was feeling really negative, having a lot of negative thoughts, and my energy level was bad, and physically I didn't feel so great either. And again, all of these things plus my material experience were exacerbating the situation. And so I had to step back and say, you know what, something's going on in my spiritual system, in the Heartfulness spiritual system, in the Saj Marg, which means the natural path system. This would be called going through a cleaning. There's a cleaning process, and you're going through a spiritual cleaning, and some kind of inner poison, some sort of inner condition is being pulled out. And I've had this happen numerous times now, practicing this 23 years. And so what I would do is go get an individual sitting. Now I use the app because I'm not near what's called a preceptor or a trainer to go have this individual sitting. And I would do cleaning and just realize that at some point things are going to turn for the better. And whatever was coming up inside my inner system, my spiritual system, will be pulled out by the negativity that's going on in my life. So it's really a blessing. This negativity is a blessing, because at the end of this, when the cleaning process has worked its way through, the spiritual cleaning process has worked its way through, I'm going to feel better, and I'm going to be a better person. And this has happened significantly in my life using this system, and it's a real blessing. So instead of looking at these bad events as being external to me and somehow unfair, they're put in my spiritual path to help me get closer to God, because that's what always happens. And you can see this in religious texts from various religions around the world, as well as Aboriginal spirituality. that in any tale in which the hero, the protagonist, goes through something difficult, and in the process, you can watch this in any movie, and in the process of this negative conflict and problems that they go through, they become something. You watch them transform. In a really good movie, you'll watch somebody transform from the conflict and the negativity. So you could look at this as being evil or coming from the devil, which is not a positive way to look at it, or looking at it as being something that God put in your path and God's drawing to you to make you become what you're meant to become. So I was going through this process, and there was a few things that came about to pull me out of it. And this came from, and it made me really appreciate the internet. It really made me appreciate having contact with people, being able to contact people from a long distance, because the three people that positively helped me get out of this situation, to move past this, to go through this cleaning process, were from Europe. One was from Europe, one was from India, and one was from America, about 12 hours away. So it's people that I would no way have had any real ability to contact. The person from Europe was a younger person who I'd been helping just work through some relationship stuff. And this person, I didn't really feel like talking. It was a bad day, but we had a prearranged phone call. And when we talked for a little bit, the person realizes that I wasn't feeling that great. And through the process of the phone call, I didn't really want to talk about what was going on with me, because it really wasn't what the phone call was supposed to be about. But through talking about it a little bit, and there was just a positive energy exchange. It's a very positive young person. And I felt so much better after the phone call. It was like a complete transformation. And I felt really grateful. And I knew this wasn't random. I knew the way that the phone call happened, all the other events weren't random. And that was early on in the morning, or in the early afternoon here. And then later on that night, I had recently got a new Skype account. And somehow there was a message saying that there was a person that wanted to friend me on Skype, which was really random, because it was basically a brand new account, and I only have a few people that I'm in contact with the account. And the person, I had no idea who it was, and I just thought it was spam, because I get these spam things. Pretty much I think everybody gets these. Somebody that I didn't know was just some sort of spam. And I was looking at the account to see if maybe it was somebody I knew, because the name of the person was Yoga. And I know some people named Yoga, and of course I do yoga, so I thought, well, maybe there's something there. And somehow, by accident, I hit the call button. And I said, oh, geez, I don't want to talk to some random person. I hung up, and about a minute later, I get a call from this person, so all right, I'm going to answer it. And it's somebody I know from India, this young man that helped me and my family in a couple of different ways, which I'm going to talk about now, because it's a kind of a beautiful story. And it was pertinent to everything I was going through personally, because it had been about, I think, 3 years. It was 3 years to this month, to late February and early March, that these events came together. So I'm talking to this person, and he's been watching the videos, which I don't know how he found the videos. And he said, this guy in his 20s, young person, 21, 22, maybe 23 years old. What's kind of interesting about it was random for both of us. He got a request to be my friend earlier that day. So this is something where Skype took it upon itself to send out friend requests for both of us, even though I had a brand new Skype account, and all of that was bizarre. I don't even know if we were Skype friends before. And what this young man helped me and my family with, now this was right before the divorce, is that, and I want to tell this story on a longer, some future date when I can get through it all. But what happened is, every 6 months, your visa, when you stay in India, depending on your visa, we had a tourist visa. So we stayed there 6 months, and we needed to get a new visa, because your visa expires after 6 months. And we had such problems getting visas in the past in America. We had gotten the visa early. And what I had thought was going to happen was that our visa didn't start till we got to India. And I checked the expiration date, and it said July 2nd, 2015. It said 7/2/2015. And so I thought that we had plenty of time because it was late February and it was just the beginning of March. Can't remember what. But what happened was is we went to the airport and we came to the sad realization that in everywhere else but America, they put the day first, the month second, and the year third. And so our visas had already expired like 2 weeks ago. And we had some financial issues, and we were all packed up. So this is a family of 6 people, 2 adults, 4 kids, and we had a ton of stuff. We were going to Sri Lanka, and we were going to take an extended stay there, and we were going to get new visas. And what happened was we went to the airport, and they turned us around, and they said, your visas have expired. And this put us into sort of a crisis. It cost a lot of money. The Indian system is corrupt. The bureaucracy there, it makes you appreciate how good America is. And this happened in a couple different ways. And we went through a ton of things. We had to interview with police. We had to go 3 times to the police office to get things verified. And we had to go to the Indian visa office 4 times. And there was a language difficulty. And India is such a land of hospitality, and particularly for people who do my spiritual system. And so the ashram manager assigned to us this young man who I was talking to on Skype. He was just a wonderful person, had just a calm demeanor, and he was able to translate for us into English from Tamil, and he just smoothed everything along. Just a wonderful, just being in a presence of someone with higher level consciousness and just a devotion to service. And when this all went down later on, what happened was we finally got our visa straightened out. We got to Sri Lanka, and our children's passports were expiring. And to travel to foreign countries, you have to have 6 months left on your passport before it expires. And this is a whole other story, because the Sri Lanka trip turned out to be a nightmare. And this is where my ex-wife ran out of her medicine, and we haven't seen each other since. She came back to the States, and we've been separated and now are going through this divorce process. So talking to this young man, and the fact that this is 2 years since this has happened, and it functionally brought to the end our relationship, my marital relationship, it brought a lot of these things out. And it brought out how much I miss the ashram and the hospitality and the kind of the higher level consciousness. India is a place of extremes. And there's a lot of people who are very money oriented and very selfish. And it's just so many people there. And there's a lot of people that are cheaters, and the system cheats you. And, there's just, you have to bargain and haggle over everything because there's no set prices. But then there's these saintly like people who are so generous and so connected to God. And there's the presence and the condition of the country itself, the bones of the country, the ancient spiritual traditions there. And so it's just this extreme place. So we went through highs and lows there. And I really missed India when I was talking to this person. And then he tells me he's watching my videos now. And, I guess he had heard about the divorce through the videos. And it was sort of a sad thing, but positive, and that we were brought together. And it just pulled a lot of these things out to the forefront for me, and it made me feel better. And I knew that none of this was random. I knew that this was happening in a way that was just, it was for my best interest, that some kind of negative feelings, because what I went through in India with all these things, and just I appreciated some of the negativity in my divorce process because it made it easy to walk away. When there is still a positive relationship between you and your ex-spouse, then you have mixed feelings, and then you get sad, you miss things, and you go through this long drawn-out process. But when the other person behaves in such a way and the relationship gets so damaged that you're just relieved in every possible way that the marriage is over, it's a true blessing, no matter how much negativity there is, and no matter how many things you suffer in terms of, inflammatory false accusations and negative behaviors and just all the things that can happen in a negative divorce type situation. It makes you just be like, oh my God, I'm free. I feel so good about this. And so that's also a true blessing, even though you don't want to go through something negative like that. And it also can pull out negative things in yourself that you can see, and they can be removed, and you can focus positively on getting closer to God, and it can open up your heart and make you a more loving person, which happened in my case. So to sum this up, I went through all this negativity, all this stuff came up over 2 or 3 week periods, and it got really intense in the early part of last week. And then on Wednesday, I had a positive interaction with a young person from Europe, and then a positive interaction with this young person I knew from India. And the next day I was scheduled to get a sitting from a trainer I know that's about, like I said, 12 hours away, that I know my family knows from India. These sittings that people have experienced via videotape from Kamlesh Patel, the current master president of the system. And also there are these people called preceptors or trainers. And if you lived locally close to them, you'd go to their house and you'd sit, 5 feet away from the other person. And you close your eyes, you meditate together. The person reads your spiritual condition. If they see they look for light, and if they see anything that isn't light, then they pull it out. Using their thought force, using their will force, it's just like cleaning something on the physical world, but you're doing it on the spiritual realm. And after the cleaning process is completed, they transmit, and they put this positive energy in you. And the longer that you practice this system, you go through intense experiences that pull up these conditions and character qualities and emotions. It could be fear or anger and things. And it pulls out this poison from your system. And this sometimes isn't so pleasant. And then more transmission can be given to your heart, and your heart can expand and grow. It's a beautiful process, something that I'm so grateful for the past 23 years. So this woman was giving me a sitting, and I felt horrible. It was restless. I mean, I was like almost wanting to claw my, it was just, I just felt restless, and a lot of negative feelings were coming up. And it went on. Usually these sittings last a half hour, and this was a whole hour. And I wrote to the person and said, we were messaging back and forth afterwards. And I said, it was really intense cleaning. She said, yes. Then I just saw all this stuff. The stuff came out, and there was just all this light, and that's how I felt. I've been feeling like really positively ever since. And I wanted to say that, and then I had an interaction with somebody who wrote to me about spirituality. And what I wrote to them, which is part and parcel to this system as well, is that if you have a block, if you have a spiritual block in your system, you don't focus on the block. You think about your goal, which is to get in contact with God, to merge with God, to have union with God, whatever it is, to feel God's love. And what you focus in on is God's love. For example, if you are traveling from one place to another, you're traveling from California to New York City, there are many beautiful things on the way and many horrible things on the way. You might see accidents, you might get waylaid, you might have a flat tire, you might have anything that keeps your journey from reaching its culmination. You might have fights with your arguments with your family. People are getting worn down by the travel. And it's easy to give up and stop, but you're always focusing on your destination. And that's what it is in spirituality. Don't focus on the fights. Don't focus on the negativity. Don't focus on the car problems. Focus on, at the end of the day, you're going to get there. You're going to reach your destination. Obstacles are just obstacles, and the obstacles are not your goal. You don't focus on your obstacles. You don't focus on the distractions, good or bad, and you just remind yourself what your goal is. Because as you get older and you do this stuff long enough, and you realize that no matter what you do in life, whether you're a spiritual person or not, that there's always going to be difficulties, there's always going to be obstacles, but if you persevere and you push through them, you will complete your assigned task. Or maybe at some point, your understanding of your goal and your purpose and what you're supposed to be doing changes. And then you just reassess, you change your goal, you reassess your pathway, and you say, all right, now I understand better that I didn't have a clear picture of what I was supposed to do in the beginning, but now I've refined my goal and I'm headed in the right direction. I see all these patterns around me. I see that the universe isn't random. I see that I'm getting help in the physical world as well as in the spiritual world when I need it. I'm praying to God. I'm being humble. I'm being open, but I know that I can succeed, and I know that God's leading me on the right pathway. It's a beautiful process. In today's dark world, in this evil world and all the things that are going on, this is something for us all to aspire to. We're always looking, don't get bogged down with all the negativity around us. We have a system. We have a path. We have a reason for being. We have something that we're supposed to become. Our soul has a plan for us. We have a spiritual support team, and we can accomplish what our soul set out for us to accomplish when we incarnated into this negative world. Because a lot of the things that are negative in this world are really truly spiritual blessings for us and will help us aspire and rise up and become the people that we are meant to become. So I hope that these are positive feelings, positive ideas for people, that we always look towards God. We always look to feel God's love, and everything else can be just thrown away or cast to the side, pulled out of our existence, inside of us and outside of us. These obstacles represent obstacles inside of ourselves that need to come out. And so we just have faith, we have an understanding that as we get past these material obstacles, they are cleaning away the internal obstacles that block our connection to God. So it's a really beautiful idea that I hope people will think about on this Sunday. These are just a few thoughts about this subject. It's Paul Romano reporting from the Apocalypse, and everybody have a blessed day.